Okay, I just want to warn all of you that when it comes to question time, don't be too hard, because we do have a laser on this, and I can hit the forehead pretty well. My name's Steve Huffman. My company is Mead Incorporated. I'm not going to put a bunch of statistics up there because that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I was the 2007 president of ISA, and at that same time we were standing up another organization called Automation Federation, which we'll tell you a little bit about. But in general, what it is an outward focus to the marketplace in automation in the hopes to being the voice of automation, rallying the cry, so to speak. Here's my experience. I guess what, you wanted to know something about me, that's me. Been involved in engineering for 43 years. This summer will be my 40th year at Mead Incorporated. Process control environment. And what I mean by dealing with different philosophies, approaches, and power structures are, we're top tier representatives of top tier automation manufacturers involved in most of the major different industry sectors, and I've seen it all. I had, in fact, talking with Andy, a good friend of mine, with whom I worked for many years, retired from a big, large brewing company and went to work for Cargill for a while, so we have a common thread there. Anyway, also 38 years as an ISA member. I believe in the organization. I think that we've had trouble trying to define our profession over the years, and we didn't get help from our members, let's put it that way. However, there's a lot of good, hardworking people that have been involved in that in terms of standards committees, conferences, people building certifications, things that benefit mankind, but also specifically automation. So that's where we're going. So I had a nebulous title that I assigned to this, talking about a non-discipline. Those of you that have been involved in automation probably understand that you got there by accident. By dint of assignment, whenever you went to work, they said, we're going to make you an automation engineer. I'd say, okay, what's that? Well, you'll find out. Another 3 to 5 years, you'll be one of the best ones we have. So that's the problem. In the US, we seem to have issues with having degree programs that match the needs of industry. Colleges are businesses too, apparently. So I remember when we came up with a curriculum to try and have an automation engineering curriculum at the undergraduate level in 2007, that ABET was not too interested in that. They didn't want any new degree programs, but at least in engineering. So we have to rely on the primary verticals, mechanical, electrical, and chemical, to really produce the next generation of automation professionals. And industry has to train them in such a way. So it's still kind of by accident. But we still have to have that definition other than what an individual company decides they want to do. But in differing missions, these are some of the barriers to a united discipline, certainly factory automation versus process automation. In a lot of companies, particularly if packaging operations, you can look at the FA side and the process automation is up the street, and those people don't talk to each other. Isn't that amazing? But a lot of their skill sets are interchangeable, transportable, whatever. So that's one a good example. IT versus OT. OT seems to be the new initial now. I think manufacturing IT, you mentioned that before. We're finding that out in the cyber world with cybersecurity standards that ISA has been working on for the last dozen years. And now with the framework that we're working with, we're seeing some convergence taking place there, and it's good. Industry versus institutional. Building automation systems, automation is everywhere. But again, the skill sets that are taught it's an automated world. So how are we going to overcome any of this stuff? IT seemed to have come together very, with the megatrend era in the 80s and 90s, but instrumentation, which is frankly ISA, that was the original acronym, was the Instrumentation Society of America, Instrument Society of America. Nobody wanted to move out of that little thin, or at least our members did not want to move out of that thin classification and embrace of the whole world of automation because everybody did their own little thing and didn't talk to one another. Well, we had to do something about that, and so again, by taking on as Automation Federation to be the voice of automation, we had to come up with a universally accepted definition. I remember our society had a session trying to do that one time, and we came up with a very good elevator speech that only got us to the second floor. And it was so nebulous that it basically said nothing so that everyone would agree. So that it was kind of a useless thing to do. But in the last bullet point, one of the things that I think brought us completely together was in Washington, D.C., we met with the U.S. Department of Labor, and within that organization is a sub-organization called ETA, Education and Training Association, Administration? I forget, something like that. But they had just rolled out a framework for an advanced manufacturing competency model that was developed by NIST. And they showed it to us and basically challenged us as a group to go back and develop an automation competency model, which we did. And that was, aside from the normal cat herding that takes place with a room full of subject matter experts and of course they're not opinionated, but we got through it. We got through it well, and that was probably, if not the first, one of the first successful competency models that in partnership with DOL that was put out there. And to this day, I'm told it's still the most downloaded. So that was originally in 2008. It's gone through a critical review in 2011, and most recently in 2014, last year, where we included a lot of cybersecurity things in mission critical operations and other current topics that would cause that model to move. So what does that really do? There's what it looks like. It's a pyramid. If you can go to the automationfederation.org website, and there's a link to it, or that website right there, careeronestop.org, competency model, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're going to get. The first three tiers are pretty much the soft skills type things. What type of person does it take to go into a career in automation at any skill level, meaning technician, technologist, engineer, whatever. But then when tier 4 is probably where it narrows down dramatically in terms of the certain competencies, the broad competencies that we need to do, but the specific competencies are in the tier 5. And I know you can't see that, so there's no reason talking about tiers. I just would invite you to visit this model. But basically the competencies are there. The drill down when you click on one of those blocks is the critical work functions that we believe are necessary for that, and then the individual skill sets that are listed underneath all of those. It's a very detailed model, and quite honestly, I think it's a uniting force as far as our automation profession is concerned. This is what we need to build the next generation. So what do we do with it? Companies can use this for automation career definition. Certainly academia can use it the same way. We have examples of that in terms of one college in North Carolina, Cleveland Community College in Cleveland County, North Carolina, that has actually built a automation technology program completely based on this competency model. And now there's a lot of interest elsewhere, and they're assisting other institutions to try and do the same thing. That's on the technician side. Certainly we would embrace trying to work with universities to do the same thing. Good curriculum development tool, career selection guide. One of our members is actually the National Career Development Association, career counselors. My personal opinion is career counselors, I know when I went through high school and then later in college, was they didn't know anything about industry. They'd never served in industry. They were doing this as a collateral duty, and the sooner the interview was over, the better it was for them. So from that standpoint, to actually have interest in this sort of thing is much better. So to help students make decisions, to help their parents make decisions, you can look at this from a whole number of different dimensions. So what does this mean in terms of how to develop targeted training? Well, if you do happen to look at this model and take the time to look at it, the functions are based largely, well, not entirely, but largely on the automation body of knowledge authored by Vernon Trevathan, who's the late, great Vernon Trevathan. And he actually wrote the first straw man on the competency model itself that we had to do a lot of cat herding to get that approved. But there are 2 ISA certifications that are involved with this, plus the PE credential that feed this particular model. And with that go a lot of different training courses based on certain standards development, and a host of, Tim Feldman out there could probably tell you everything you want to know about ISA training courses. And I note with interest that both Suncor and Cargill have been the recipients of ISA training programs, would probably vouch for the ones that they've selected. So that's how you target the training, is figure out what the profession is, drill down, what are the competencies, what needs to be done. There is basically a, oops, we'll just go back to that. A tool to assess any holes in the automation workforce that companies have. A number of ways that ISA can partner with you, or in terms of helping to target your training. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, I did want to point out, I'm sorry, come ahead on up. The competing session, where the rest of the world is right now, I just wanted to read something in the synopsis. It says, staffed largely with aging workforces with many experienced workers getting ready to retire, companies need to ensure that they can continue to operate their plants in a safe, reliable, and profitable manner. My only comment to that is, we're not winning that war right now. We need the people. So, too bad they're over there. They could have learned about us, but that's all right. Thank you.